Hi, I'm Andy, aka googleman, and today we're going to look at what to do once you're in a Google Meet lesson.
Look, up in the sky, it's a bird.
It's a plane!
Hi guys, and welcome back to aka googleman. If you haven't done so already, please click on the subscribe button down below, and if you like this video and indeed others, please give me a thumbs up. Also, if you haven't done so yet, please check out the aka googleman website. I will link it down below for you. It's a way for you to hopefully easily search through help topics that will send you to the right videos. There's also a contact form on there, so if you can't find the help that you need, you can get in touch with me really easily. Okay, so please remember to check that out. On to today. So last time we spoke about setting up Google Meet lessons and getting into those. What we're going to be doing today is talking about what you can do in those lessons or meetings once you are there. We'll be looking at how you can interact with the students, ways to take questions, and what to do if you have a disruptive influence in your class. If that sounds good to you, let's jump in. So here we are in a mock Google Meet lesson, and I'm in here with a single test student. Before I go any further, I just want to give you some reminders about some safeguarding things that you must consider when you are doing these. Particularly if you are doing these lessons at home, please be aware of the background that you are showing in there. You can blur that in Google Meet now, but it's not the smoothest thing in the world, so it's well worth just having a plain background on there. Remember to remain professional at all times when you're doing these. It's really easy to slip, I feel, in these because the environment is typically less formal. You're not in your classroom, they're not at desks. And quite often these students will be, sat in their own living rooms and things like that. So maintain your professional demeanor at all times. And if, like this situation, there is just one student in there with you, obviously right now it's just a test, okay, but if you are in with one real student, if no one else shows up, then you need to politely but quickly end that lesson, okay? Because it protects you and it protects the students as well, okay? So please bear those things in mind. So once you are in, as the owner of the meeting, and indeed teachers, I believe, have these privileges even if it's not their meeting, you have control over who can speak to you and who can remain in the meeting. You are able to mute participants in that lesson or meeting. Unlike programs features like Zoom, you can't mute en masse at the moment. It may be something that may change in the future, but for now you'll need to do it individually. You may find that based on the size of your meeting that all the participants come in muted automatically, which is absolutely fine, but it's worth you checking. What you should be able to do is if you go to the participants list, you can see who's muted and unmuted, and if necessary, mute them from there. You can't unmute any participants yourself, so you'll have to ask them to unmute if you do wish them to speak, okay? Just a consideration for you. And of course, you may have a student that is causing some kind of disruption. It happens in real classrooms, it also happens in virtual ones. It certainly happened to me in the past. So if you go in the same spaces where you can mute them, you go across to the right, there's a little button there that you can just use to remove that individual from the meeting. Okay, nice and quick and simple. You also will have the privilege of deciding if anyone from outside of your school's domain can actually enter the lesson in the first place. Now, when it comes to staff meetings and things like that, it is quite plausible. You may have some kind of guest speaker, or perhaps if your school is doing training online and they're having someone external to do that, okay, you might have someone from outside of your domain, in which case, by all means, you can allow those people entry, that they'll have been expected. However, you may have students that will try to enter using personal email addresses, or you might even have a parent that's trying to get in with a personal email address as well, and you can deny them entry. You'll get a little notification on your screen that tells you that someone from outside of your domain is trying to enter, and you can deny them access from that point, okay? And hopefully you'll be able to see that all these different scenarios are happening around me on the screen, okay? So just something for you to bear in mind. Then once you're set and you are in, you'll probably want to start sharing something with your students, and depending on the scenario will depend on what you share. It might be that you have got a blended situation where you are just going to talk through things with the class and that they will make notes on what you say. It's one of the things that I sometimes do, and I'll show you my class setup for that later on because I've actually been doing several of those recently. But you will probably want to share something like a PowerPoint or ideally a Google slide with the students in the class. Why Google slide? I will tell you later. But from the point where you decide you want to share, you just go down to the bottom right of your screen, you kind of hover there, and there's a button that just says present now. Okay. From there you're given 3 options. You can share your whole screen, an application window, let's get the grammar right, or a Chrome tab. My personal recommendation here is just to share an individual Chrome tab, okay, because it gives you control over exactly what the students are seeing, okay. If you decide during the course of things you want to show a different tab, if you go to that tab that you wanted to share with them, you actually have the option that appears across the top as a bar to share that tab instead, okay, and it's just one click and it'll show them that instead. I will say through all of this that depending on the speed of your machine, the speed of your internet connection, there may well be some kind of lag between what you are showing or what you think you're showing and then when the students see it. Naturally there's a little bit of lag anyway, but this can be exacerbated depending on the standard of internet that you are using, or indeed the standard of internet the students are using, and or how many different people are on there all at the same time. I mentioned it last time, just make sure everyone turns their captions on, so then even if they can't quite keep up with what's being shown, they can definitely keep up with what's being said, because that translates far, far more quickly. Okay. Once you've got that PowerPoint set up, okay, there are several great things that you can do to kind of like help you take questions. We're going to demonstrate some of those things now. And this is the reason, in fact, that I prefer Google Slides to using a PowerPoint. So standardly, you've got the chat box in Google Meet, okay? It's in the top right of your Google Meet screen, and students can interact with you through that if you wish them to, and that's absolutely fine. But there's a facility called Q&A in Google Slides, which I did show in a previous video, so I'll link that one for you along with some other things to do with docs, slides and sheets. But I'm just going to remind you of it here. When you've got your presentation being shown, okay, if you hover down the bottom, you've got a little button that says Q&A. Click on that and it will open a new window for you, okay, and it will actually have it separate from your PowerPoint, and your PowerPoint will shrink into a window, so instead of taking up your whole screen, it becomes a kind of a window of itself. This is great because it now gives you the opportunity to side by side some things on your screen. So what you should hopefully see happening around me here is I'm pulling my Google Meet screen to my right, and I'm pulling the Q&A window to the left. Now the good thing about this is that I can actually control the PowerPoint from this Q&A box as well. It's like presenter controls, and I'm going to click on Start New for question and answer. This will then display the link to this at the top of every PowerPoint slide automatically. The students can then put that into a browser window, and this gives them the facility to ask you questions. Okay, they don't have to put their hands up or indeed answer a question. Okay, it's typically set up to be able to take questions, but you can use it to take answers as well. And one of the joys of this, and why I feel it's better than the chat box, is you can share that with the other people in there really easily. So as you can see, I've got a question has appeared in my Q&A box just there, and what this will then do is I can click on present, and this actually becomes the PowerPoint slide, or the slides slide rather, that the students then see. So if someone's asked a really good question or given a really good answer, you can show it on the screen, or it's an easy way to actually bounce a question out there as well. So you might have been asked a question, but you know someone in the room has that answer. You know, the knowledge is so often in the room, so share that with the other people and then start taking answers, again either through that Q&A facility there, or through chat, or through selecting people to speak through the actual Google Meet itself. It's really good, really handy, and well worth working with. Don't forget too that when you are presenting things that you have the option in gsuite and Sheets to change the access privileges to any document that you share. So just like you can in Google Classroom, you could make it so the students could edit a particular document. So say you are showing that on the screen and you want to brainstorm something. Go to your Google Drive and change the access privileges, okay? And check out that video linked above and below on the basics of Google Drive to see how to do that, okay? And what you can do is say, right, you've got 2 minutes, everyone needs to type something onto this document, okay? And then after that 2 minutes, you can revoke that editing privilege, and then you can show that in your meeting. Say, right, okay, so who said this? Why have you said this? And that becomes the basis of another question and answer session that perhaps you could even run through the PowerPoint. If you've got a PowerPoint running, okay, you could still take questions doing that, even if you're not necessarily presenting it. That link, as long as you keep it switched on, will remain there and they can keep using it. And you can continue to side by side on your screen really, really easily. And now what I just want to do is kind of show you one of the classroom setups that I use for a piece of blended learning. So I've had several instances recently where I have several students in the classroom with me, but others joining in through Google Meet, okay? And I've spoken with several other teachers about how they set theirs up, okay? And I'll probably mention those as we go along. And I know some of these work really, really well, but I just want to show you mine. So let's jump into my classroom. Okay, and welcome to my classroom here at EWS. Now, as I record this, I have just completed a blended learning lesson. So I had some students in the room with me and some joining in via Google Meet. And I just want to show you my fairly simple setup to make that a kind of a viable option. First thing that I do is on my main desk here, I literally flip over so that I'm sat on the other side of the desk so that the camera on my computer is pointing towards the students that are in the classroom. Obviously, I've got a webcam attached to my laptop. Perhaps if you are on a laptop with a separate webcam, you can just turn that around. That would work just as well. And then to kind of help facilitate that, I've given myself a chair just here so I can sit in that chair, and I put it on kind of sideways so I can see my screen at the front. I can also turn around and see the students on the other side of me. What I have also maintained that's really, really important here is you can see there's a minimum of 2 meters between me and any other student sat in the room. It's absolutely key. We're still thinking about COVID safety, of course, at this point. What I also do is I use my projector as well. So I'm connected up to my overhead projector, and I've got a meeting open at the moment. As you can see, I've projected that onto my projector screen. You might have spotted that this isn't actually what is appearing on my laptop screen. I've set my projector to be an extended desktop, so it's not mirroring my screen. It is acting as a second monitor. So I've moved the meeting onto there so that the students in the room can see their friends really, really clearly. It also means that if I need to find things, give examples or anything like that, I can find those on my Chromebook here, okay, and without kind of getting in the way of students seeing other people. Obviously, this is hooked up to my sound system as well, so I can play musical examples. It does take a little bit more setup because when I want to play musical examples, yes, you can play sound through Google Meet, but sometimes there's a bit of a lag and the sound quality can be low, so I send those examples as MP3s. In an email, but that's exactly what I did today, and it worked really, really well. It's really effective. As you can see, the setup here is actually very simple. I haven't employed too many extra things to make this work. And that is it for today. I wanted to keep this relatively short and didn't want to show too many things. I really hope this is something you have found useful, but if there's something you feel I've missed or something you want to try out, then go to my website linked below and drop me a message through the contact form. Send me an email, aka.googleman@ewsacademy.org.uk, or indeed just leave me a comment below. I know there are teachers experimenting with using things like visualizers through Google Meet and things like that, and these are great things to try out, and I hope to share some of those things with you later as well. I'll see you all next time, but until then, stay well, stay safe. Googleman out.